Hi guys, you are welcome to this episode of Studio Talk Podcast. We are so excited to be here. My name is Victoria and we're going to be having an interesting discussion. I'm joined by two brilliant, creative gentlemen who I'm going to give the chance to introduce themselves, starting with this one over here.
Hi everyone, my name is Eric. I'm a photographer, I'm a graphics designer and an AI enthusiast. Yes, that's what I do.
Awesome. Yes, sir. Who are you?
Greetings. My name is Mwesigwa Joel. I am a photographer first, but I am also a cinematographer. So basically, I just love telling stories.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're here today to discuss something very interesting. I like the choice of topic compared to the choice of guests because I really think that it's relevant, and I hope that you guys will benefit from the discussion. So today we're going to talk about creativity and purpose. How do we merge the two? How do we define the two? How do the two meet? So that's going to be our discussion. And I want to get into it by asking these two gentlemen, what does creativity mean to you personally? How do you define it for you as an individual?
Eric, do you want to go first?
Let me shoot. So that when I give my answer, take yours. But how do I define creativity? For me, it's the creativity is the way of bringing out your inner self to the world through your way of expressing yourself. That could be through design, it could be through photography, it could be through art, but it's just a way of expressing your inner self and releasing your true self in a way. Yes.
Nice. True self. That's intense.
Yeah.
So people who are not creative, for them, how do they release their true selves?
Through balancing books. Yeah.
Joel, how do you define creativity personally?
Honestly, I think the term creativity is so broad that we would need like 2 episodes or minimum a full episode just to like try and describe it. But when I try to break it down to like how I understand what it means to me, creativity is in all of us, first of all. That's what I believe. But being creative just refers to like putting a personal spin to whatever it is that you're doing. Yeah. So I don't think creativity is limited to art or because it's very easy to relate creativity with art, but I believe every aspect of our lives has a touch of creativity to it, because I believe as a believer the God that created us is a creative God, so he created us in his image. So we are all creatives at least at certain points. If you look at footballers, they're very creative footballers. You might look at people that do business, and you see a certain person doing business a very different way. And the easiest way you would describe that is that person is very creative. So for me, creativity is putting a personal touch to everything that you're doing. It's not limited to like art or that particular thing that you do. For me, it's putting a bit of yourself in everything that you do. That's how I would describe it.
Nice. It's interesting that you painted it out that way, because one of the things when I was thinking about the first question, I was asking myself, are creatives born or are they made? Like, is creativity something that you can pick up along the way? Or because there are people who define themselves as like, for me, I'm a creative, and like that almost suggests that there are people who aren't creatives. And so for you to paint that picture of everybody, like as long as you're bringing your personality into something, in a sense, you are cultivating creativity in what you're doing. So meaning even an accountant can be there in their books, I've
been thinking about it. How would, anyway, I think it's just food for thoughts. How would an accountant Be more creative.
So I feel like in every field or every aspect of life, let's say, now this is a very, I don't know why you guys are attacking accountants, but but it's more about how would that person approach the problems that they face in their field, in whatever aspect that, like, if they are solving those problems a way that is different from what is normal or what everyone else does, that's creativity in itself. So you are faced by this, I don't want to call it a problem or a challenge, but you're faced by this situation and you use a different approach. You're like, okay, how would Joel solve this? That Eric, not in a way that Eric did it last year, but how will I solve it? You're being creative in that process you get what I mean? So also the thing that you mentioned of some people not being creative, I think it's not that they are not creatives or they lack creativity in their life. I feel like choosing to solve certain problems a different way is a choice to some extent. There's that saying that people that are in the arts have, where they say everyone is born an artist and you grow out of it. And then the true artists just choose to remain artists forever. You get that inner curiosity that you have, you just make that choice to have it forever. So that's why you meet people who say, me, I'm a creative. So I feel like everyone has it. Some people just don't tap into it. Bottom line for me.
Okay, interesting. So that's, I think, a nice segue into something that I'm also thinking about in line with you two individuals and my understanding of you personally. So both of you are in what people would call mainstream creative fields. Like, you're literally paid to be creative in your respective jobs. So I'm just wondering, for you, how did you live that? How did the creative child remain in you, and how did you nurture that and bring it to this point? And for Eric specifically, there's a session of studio talk we had here at Agandi. I think it was the one on failure, where you were sharing a bit about your journey. And I think one of the things that stood out for me about it is how you described the fact that you found yourself in a place where you were not able to continue with exactly what you wanted to do. Like at uni, you were at a point where you're like, okay, I'm stuck here, but what can I do with what I have? And that's kind of what led you into discovering a bit about graphics design. You were like, okay, there's a computer here, there's internet, why don't I teach myself design? I think that's a really rare attribute. Many people don't realize what they have, but what made you make the decision to say, this is what I have, and this is what I'm going to teach myself, graphics design? And then also you shared a bit about, I don't want to say a lot about your story because I want you to tell us, but also a bit about how you got into photography. Someone at church, they were, I think, taking pictures, and then they gave you the opportunity to hold the camera or something. And that's how you were like, okay, let me learn, let me teach myself. And so I think what I'm trying to ask is, how did you, why that? Why what made you gravitate specifically towards those creative fields, and what was that journey like? Just describe how you eased into mainstream creativity.
That's a tough one. But I think maybe let me just back up where I'm going with the story. So at uni, everything seemed like as failing, as going against the trend. You know how sometimes people are like, oh, all your friends are going north, and then there is you who is going south. So and right now, everything for me, pretty much, I would say the storm is a little bit, not that it's calm, but I would say it's much better than it was back in the day. Yeah. So how did I get into this? So uni, I was doing computer science, and I think one thing that I've really learned about myself personally is the ability to go hard or teach myself in something, but also that comes to solving problems. So for those who know that most times I love totality of peace in everything. Like if there's something wrong, I would love to call it out and solve it and then move on. So because of that, I found myself in a place of like I would say I had the desire of art in me to express myself, despite doing computer repairs and all software installation. That's why sometimes softwares for me easily come working around them. So with that, I was able to find myself in a place of being able to express myself. I was like, oh, I can actually do this thing and create and do something like God did. I would say that is creating. And with creating, it comes from your inner self. In a way, you create out of the fullness of your heart. You're not creating from like all this and this, honestly. And most of the projects that I did in my early years were all, I would say, passionate projects. Projects that were not paid for. I'll just sit there and imagine, oh, what if I had a restaurant? What would I do about it? So I would make a logo, I'd brand it fully, then take that idea and sell it to a restaurant. So if they bought into it, it would be so easy, and I would find it so easy to roll with the ball because the ball was already rolling. So if you find that the process is just continuously, like someone finds you, oh, I love photography, we want to do documentation of organization. So you already love photography as an individual, so you just find that it's more fulfilling for you to do it. And more so where the organization is solving problems that you're very fond of, that becomes a little bit easy. So how I found myself also, that's how I found actually myself into graphics. Then for photography, it's just availability. I was at church, then there was a gentleman called Grace Nasasira. Grace was like, oh, you're always around. I was like, yes, I'm always around. He's like, could you be able to take up the camera? I was like, yes, sure. It's like, okay, you come, I teach you what I know. So he taught me, I would say like 10%. But then we're in a class with few other people, but then the challenge came in where other people were not giving in the best because maybe they had other options or they had other choices. Yeah. But for me, I ran with the mantras, like, you know what? Like I always take everything serious as well. Like if I'm learning something, I learn it fully to the best that I can. Then I use it to solve the challenges around me. Like if I notice that right now I'm documenting my family. I'm doing family interviews, which are very, very weird. I sat down with my grandmother, like I asked her questions about her growing up, like things basically that I feel like will be more helpful for us to see and like laugh about with her, or even asking my siblings questions about what annoys them about mom, or like them being free, like trying to solve problems. That has really helped me to make them feel relaxed. And all of them were in the room, all of them were able to laugh, and but the things at the end of the day were solved as well. Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like I've gone off topic.
No.
Yeah.
I think you've kind of answered the question. One thing I find very interesting about most creatives who I know, most people who are in like mainstream creativity, is the fact that you find that 90% of themselves taught themselves the thing that they're currently practicing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think there's something to be said about that, specifically in Uganda. I don't know how it is elsewhere, but in Uganda most creatives teach themselves, which brings us to Mr. Joel here. Joel, what did you study when you were at uni?
So science, technology, physics at Chambogo.
Yeah, wow.
But for me, I guess I'm answering the same question.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, there are like stories that we're used to hearing when it comes to people who are in the creative space. And it's usually a story of people saying that it had to be this or nothing else. And for me, that wasn't really the case. Yeah. And I believe for very many other people that are in this space, it's usually not that, where it's either you get into the field or you're not going to do anything else. It's not that. For me, it was coming to a realization that where I was in that particular time wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Yeah. And this is something that I was fortunate enough to experience at that time. I understand for different people this takes years. This is something that they discover about themselves after like they're in their 40s or something like that. But I remember clearly I was doing industrial training, and I was fortunate enough to get, industrial trainings. Usually if you're lucky enough and you have like an uncle who knows someone, you get placed in a nice place. So I was like very lucky that I got into a good place in terms of like what I was studying. So for me, being in that space and experiencing it and saying, okay, so if this physics stuff goes very well, this is where I'm going to end up.
Yeah.
Like, you get what I mean? Like, this is it. I just felt like, no. This can't be my life. You get, like, not that I hated it. I actually find the things that I was doing very fascinating. But it wasn't it. It didn't settle well with me.
Yeah.
So during that time, I come across a gentleman, Mr. Nelson Muhire, and he was the first person to tell me that, you know what, maybe there is something that you love doing. And usually when it comes to like career and life, this life choice, it's easier if you align that with like choosing what you want to do, align that with something that you love doing.
Yeah.
So I had never had such a conversation with anyone about that, and I was again fortunate enough to meet him and have that conversation. Back then, I didn't even know what that was for me, something that I love doing. Yeah. But he is so good at noticing those kind of things about people that he was like, hey, there's this team that we have going on, maybe you can like join. And it was the media team. I don't know why it was in the choir, because but he noticed that maybe I would fit in with the media team. I met the guys who were incredible, and it just felt right. Like, these are things that I was doing and I was feeling happy. And it wasn't a thing of, okay, you must be good at this or else you don't have anything else that you're going to do. No, for me it was, okay, this is interesting, it's fascinating. And from there I started picking up things like the classes that we're having, because there was like some training that had to happen for us to like, because we were like a group of guys. It wasn't only me that was having this conversation with him. So I want to say I was more interested, if that's even a thing, but I was very interested in it. And I just kept around that circle. So when school got done and I was having all these questions of, okay, now what else? It was him again to show me that, there are guys who are doing what you're doing as a hobby, because back then it was just a hobby. And they're like making it, like it's a career for them. And then looking back at my life, even like in high school, I remember in Form 4 VAC, I had worked some job and I'd gotten some 600K, and I had bought an iPhone 5S, the Calica black one. And there are those days, I won't lie, I would sneak into school and take pictures of my friends, take pictures of the buildings. And looking back, for me, photography just made so much sense, that this is something that I've always loved doing. And it is something that I can see myself doing for like, for long. Yeah. And that's how I got into like photography first. And then for film, it was after getting to a place of like really understanding that what I really love is telling stories, because there's one thing, there's discovering that you love photography, but there's also like niching, and as a creative it's very important to like niche and find that one thing that you're really good at or you really like doing, and you pursue that. So for me, within the photography and creative space, I figured that film is the thing that I really want to pursue. So I just aligned my entire life to that direction, and that's where I still am heading right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm feeling inspired. I don't know if because I don't know if I mentioned I'm like a writer. That I identify
like what would you say like
I identify creatively as a writer. And I don't know if for me my journey has been like your journeys, because you guys are like more serious.
I think it comes with a certain age where you have to be like, I have to be serious.
Yeah, because like there's been a lot of introspection into you making your decision to pursue creativity in the way that you have. I think for me, for writing, I've always written like since I was little, maybe like around 15, 14. I would write, like I would always write poetry. And then my siblings would be sweeping the house. They find my poems on papers. Like I was just always writing things. And it was always a hobby. And I think even much as it's incorporated kind of into what I do for work, it's still kind of mostly a hobby. So like you guys sound so serious. You guys are doing it like you literally as if risked it all to do what you're doing, because also there's a fact that realistically speaking in Uganda creativity is not rewarded as well as like the output versus the input is very not well correlated. And so it's very risky to actually decide to go mainstream into a creative field. So respect, guys. Respect. One other thing that I was thinking of as you all were speaking was about just like the necessity of it. Creativity is a very creative work can be very qualitative as opposed to quantitative, in the sense that you can't always it can be hard to measure the impact, for example, of what the storytelling that you do through film is going to do. The presentation that you do through your photography and graphics design work. Like, you know how we're going to use the accountant again, sorry. But for the accountant, it's literally that the books are balanced. It makes sense.
The numbers, like it's factual. It's
like
there.
It's there, it's factual, it's measurable. You know, but for creative work, it's not always like when somebody comes to a Gandhi Studios for a photo shoot, it's, you know, like it's even hard to measure the KPIs of, was a client really happy? Okay, yeah, they like the pictures, but like, you know, that thing. So creative work is necessary, and we know it because we do it. But why would you say, what is the necessity of creative work? Why is it vital? Why is it important, in your opinion, in terms of impact in like humanity?
In everything.
Yeah, in life, why is it necessary to do creative work? Share it.
Well, I think there's that, like if I'm trying to like think of that question, there's like trying to go deep into it and then bring out certain words like creative thinking, or you get like there are terms that have come up around creativity, and you see that as a people in general we are trying to like really understand these things, but these are all new to the world first of all, and then for our dear Uganda it's like really, really hard. But I think creativity is very necessary in that if we all did whatever it is that we do with a touch of ourselves, with a touch of that little bit of special that everyone brings to the world.
Yeah.
Even the accountant, trust me, I don't know if it will be the way they write the figures. I don't know, man. But then it's much more easier to bring down to like the things that we do. Yeah. Like, first of all, photographers, videographers, filmmakers, there are very many out there. But the one thing that is going to help you stand out is how creative you are. Also, like, it's not like this is the one tool that you have. Like, it's the way I think about it is like, imagine a pouch, and this pouch you keep in all your tools. Yeah, you must have obviously like different tools to like get the job done.
Yeah.
But there's always that one tool that you always reach out for, and for a creative, it must be your creativity, because this is going to be for the photographers. We all know that if you at a certain point use the 50, and we all know how often you pull out the 50. So creativity to me is that's the tool that you're going to have in your arsenal to help you stand out, to help you do your work better. Since you said that it's hard for us to like measure what we do, it should be like some sort of base. You're like, okay. And also the beauty about it is that creativity is something that grows with you as a person. Yeah. The way you look at certain aspects, or the things that people would consider that, okay, now that guy is creative, those things change about you as you grow, given your experiences in life, given where you are in life generally. Yeah. So if you work on it as you move, you get better as a person, and if you get better, your work also gets better. That can also be translated to like all the other people who are not creatives. Like, if they work on whatever it is that, let's say, I've seen doctors who have podcasts now. That's our thing. Yeah. So that's creative thinking, but it takes a certain idea, a spark for that doctor to be like, okay, now let me sit down, get Eric to record me, and I'll share. So you see, in a field where other doctors are waiting for patients to come to them, hospital, this doctor is thinking differently, and they are putting together this thing, and that thing is making them better, and it's even going to make them more money because more people are going to see them. You get like, that's the kind of thinking that comes from a creative point or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I have a response to that just before Eric speaks. What you shared has made me think about some of the creative work I've interacted with that I have felt so inspired by. And one of those is, I don't know if you guys know the Hamilton Broadway musical.
Yes.
By Lin-Manuel.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
So that it's one of those things I've consumed that I'm like, OMG. Like, I feel like it's so genius.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It was well done, yeah.
So, and like the first time I listened to it, I just took it in. Like, I was like, it's quite nice. It's just funny. Like, it's okay.
Just took
but the more I listened to it, my God, I've even become a lot more interested in. First of all, it's a story about one of the American founding fathers called Alexander Hamilton. It's just a story of his life, but it's a musical, so it's presented musically. It starts with a story of him,
it's actually a play.
It is a play. It's like performed on Broadway and whatever. But it's done so well that like
it makes the history more interesting.
Exactly. Like, I'm imagining if like Ugandan presidents, like if we did like a whole similar musical thing for Uganda, how much more interesting SST would be for kids in school and things like that. Nice. And so as you were speaking about the doctors and how these days, I think there's a report I was reading about the trends of work lately, and one of the most sought after skills by managers in different companies right now is creativity. And that's not even only limited to a graphics designer but like even the manager, everybody, like it's a skill that is highly sought, because problem solving requires creativity. Leadership sometimes requires creativity, and so just that creative thinking, that thing that you said,
that's big,
like
it's
it pours
really big.
into not just particular people, but for everyone, for you to constantly be thinking, how can I do my work in a way that's more impactful, more problem solving, more challenging for people, you know? So yes, Eric, you had something to say.
No, nothing any much different from what Joel has said. But I think, just like you said, creativity is, I think, very hard, first of all, to really quantify,
yes.
because it's also very subjective in a way. It's very subjective. I think most creatives can relate. You deliver a project and someone just tells you, I'm not feeling it, and you're like, okay. So sometimes it's really very hard, honestly, to quantify. So, and anyway, what that word is, by what to measure. But then, you know, when you get people who rhyme with what you believe, or with how you think and what, it usually becomes very easy for most creatives to express themselves best that way. So it's, most times it would be easier for creatives to be more creative when they find people who resonate with their frequencies much better. That way you find that you just say a number, or you say something, someone is like, oh yes, this and this and this and this. But then also, like, for other careers, just like Joel said, the doctor kind of example was really very nice. I think I also have another friend of mine, he's an engineer by profession, but then he also does YouTube, and his YouTube is really very huge, and he has earned most of his clients through it, honestly. Because he's being honest as well about projects on ground. He's like, okay, this is the cost of this is so with that kind of thinking, creativity also comes to a point of where it's just more informative for most people as well. It's educating them about, also making people understand your process. In that way, it's easy for you to justify certain things as well. Because if you tell someone, oh, I want a film, or I want a movie, and then you just tell them this, they don't understand it. But when you explain to them your thinking as well, it's very easy for someone to think. They may not really get it, but then it will be very easy for them to lean towards what you're doing.
Nice. What you've said has made me think about the fact that, like, the way human beings operate is changing. Like, I think there was, I don't know where I saw this, but there's somewhere where I saw that our attention span lately is shorter than that of a goldfish. Like, it's so
and that's true.
Like,
that's
people don't like in those days, man. That's why those days people used to read more books. Like, they were able to stick to a thing and consume it for a longer period of time. These days, first of all, people consume video content a lot more because it's visual, it's easier to focus on, it's harder for them to read long texts and things like that. And so even for creative people, as they like for this doctor, or for as you were saying, like the way that you create has to resonate with how people consume. Is that what I'm trying to say? I don't know. But like like your audience and how they consume the thing, you have to think about it a bit in the way that you create, in terms of people these days, if you're trying to make a message known, if you're trying to give information out there, it probably serve you better not to do a whole long paper of table of contents and but more to create it in a visual way.
Just spend a few seconds you're talking about it, and then you deliver.
Exactly.
I think on one of the best ways that I think I've found very effective with that is thinking it as the end receive of the information. Like, what questions would they ask? Sometimes they seem very silly questions, but someone would ask, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
oh, this is a mic.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, as we come towards the close of the conversation,
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys.
Mm.
There's something there that came to mind as we were speaking about what is the correlation between how, when you are creating, when you are moving in your purpose as a creative.
That's a big word.
Purpose. How do you, how much of the consumer do you consider? Like what you bring out versus the person who's going to consume it. I know that for many people, for many creatives, usually, because like we've all been saying, creativity is, there's a lot of it that's just around expression. This is what is inside Eric's mind, so I'll bring it out. This is a project, like it's a passion project. I've always wanted to do this. I've always been curious about this, so I'm going to create something like this. But then there's also, of course, the other end, the end user and what. And so I'm wondering, how much of the other person do you consider when you are creating?
So I think there's something to consider where there are two sides to this. Yeah. So there is a side where creativity is used, or I use creativity for me. Yeah. And in a perfect world, in a perfect ideal world,
which never exists.
Exactly. I would just be allowed to express myself and do the things that express myself and do the things that I want to do, or shoot the photos that I want to do, make the films that I want to do, and somehow magically the rent is paid and the bills are paid and all that. That's the ideal world.
Yeah.
But then now this is where creativity, or even like as creatives, you have to like be different, where if we are doing these things to like get money, to be paid by someone else, now it's no longer about me expressing myself entirely. If it's a percentage, myself, I should like have like 40%, and then 60% should come from the client. I should be able to tap into the vision that the client has, and in there express myself, but bring out what they have in mind.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if it's a project, if it's a film, if it's a photo shoot, it's very important to do what the client is paying you to do. You get? And ultimately, the one person that I have to impress with that project is the client. Yeah. So that's why we have like meetings with our clients to try and understand what they want, and have an input, because it's also, you're not going to be in that meeting and then you're just like, okay, yes, this is what you want, yes,
because you're the expert.
You're the expert, and that's why you're like brought on to solve that problem, because in a way we're also problem solvers. So the creative bit about that arrangement is that you should find a way, because in most cases, man, you talk to clients and they don't even know what they want.
They don't.
And just by you trying to like, in most cases, the truth is you will not bring out exactly what they wanted, but you'll give them an option that might be better or close to what they want, and they will be like, that's really good. By just doing that, it takes creativity. It takes like a certain way of thinking to do that. So that there you really have to like take into account what the other person is thinking and be creative in your own way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Eric, I'm sure you agree.
Very much.
Do you have anything to supplement to that?
Well, just like Joel said, I think there's a lot to consider. Remember, at the end of the day, the reason why this client has called you is to solve their problem.
Yeah.
So basically, that they're calling you to address that challenge. Someone doesn't call you for a photo shoot on the beach, then you tell them, I'll need to studio. The reason why they hired you is to take pictures at the beach, not at the studio.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to meet the way, or bend more towards the other side, because the reason why they've hired you or you're doing the job is mainly to fulfill their desires or their needs, I would say, at that
Yes.
point. So it's like someone asks for bread, then you bring
Fish.
yes, fish. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
But also, I think in there's that's why I feel like this needs like 5 episodes,
Yeah.
because in there's that whole conversation of like, since we creatives are very attached to the things that we do, like we take it very personal, it's coming from us.
Yeah.
And it's true, it's a good thing, but it also leaves us, it makes us vulnerable in a way, in that it's very easy for like a client to say, I don't like what you did, and you feel very discouraged because this is something that you thought about so much, and you feel like you've put your entire
You're so
creativity in it, and then this one person who you're even saying, man, you're not even creative, what do you know, is saying that they don't like it. So in there's that conversation of like, as a creative, remember that pouch that I talked about of tools that you have?
Yeah.
You have to learn how to take feedback.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to like, okay, analyze it and be like, why is this person saying this? How can I fix this situation? You have to learn how to communicate.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to negotiate. Man, the pouch is like
It's so big.
It's so big,
Yeah.
but you find that how you fix all those, or how you answer all these questions, should be in a creative way. How do you communicate creatively to this person to make them understand what you're saying and help them bring out what? Man, it's a big conversation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we are wrapping this up. There's a lot more to say. I feel like we've just scratched the surface, but we've run out of time. So we
Yeah.
have
You
to
guys
wrap
should
it
just
up.
subscribe.
Yeah.
So-
Watch out for part 2.
Share.
God be the glory.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so thank you guys, thank you for sharing. I think some of my big take homes from this conversation have been the fact that I admire how much you guys have introspected in order to come to where you are. And I really think it's important for everybody to sit down and see as an individual where anyway, I don't even know.
Bottom line, I
don't
think
know where I'm going with
it's
this.
sit down and try and figure out what works for you.
Exactly.
Because also like it's not a thing of, if you're not creative, then what you're doing is wrong.
yes.
Because they're also like people who wouldn't survive in our world,
Uh-huh.
but they're
Yeah.
doing really well
Where
wherever
they
it is that they are. So
where
it's
they are.
it's not a thing of right and wrong. It's just sit down and figure out what works
what
for
works
you.
for you as an individual.
Yeah.
So that's what I appreciate about that. It's been real. Please share, like, subscribe, stay tuned. There's a lot more coming. Even this conversation
much.
that we've started is it's probably going to unfold more and more. So keep it locked. Bye guys.